Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 3rd day of June, 2024. Well, I hope you were able to get out, if you could, early this morning and see the planetary alignment. I don't remember if it was 6 or 7, but that must have been pretty cool. We had cloud cover, so there was no way we were going to see it. But if you could, you know, if you're an astrophotographer, hopefully you got some good shots of it, and you're going to post it online today on social media so everybody can see. But which I would love to be able to do. I think that would be the coolest thing ever to be able to do, to go out at night and take pictures of different planets and all of that using the I guess you can hook your iPhone to it, and to a telescope, and I guess you get great pictures. I don't know. I would love to do that, but I don't do that. We have a telescope, but we have no idea how to use it. We've had it for decades, and I think we got it at Costco or something. But I suppose I don't even know if we can find the instructions for it anymore. So we have to get them somehow online, but to be able to figure it out. But or just buy a different one. I don't know, because we couldn't figure it out. But anyway, today's rune from the Elder Futhark bag is Sawillow. And that's going to start us out here with the higher self side or above side of things for the As Above, So Below reading we do here. You can see this is Kenaz skewed on the top and on the bottom, so you know, it would be like upright in and reversed in tarot, but basically it means drawing higher self into your awareness and expressing it outward is essentially what this is. It's the rune of the will, it's the rune of sun, it's the rune of spirit, it's self-confidence, healing, it's the link between spirit and form. So illumination as well, and awakening. So there's a lot of higher self energy associated with Sawillow, the 7th rune or 16th rune of the Elder Futhark with a 7 numerology. And 7, basically, there's an aspect of the 7 which is observation, and that would be something the higher self would do versus the reactive ego jumping into the fray before understanding the entire picture. So that would be a very higher self type of, or higher awareness type of choice to make there. And I think with Sawillow you do that. Let's see what the geomancy runes are. I'm going to throw the elemental geomancy runes down here, and we'll put them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. There's water. Ooh, Vaya. That's an easy one. Now, Vaya has a complement called Populus. Populus would be 2 dots all the way down, so it'd be a very passive influence. So it'd be someone who's a follower. But Vaya is single dots all the way down, and so if you see a single dot in a geomancy rune, that's an active principle. So this is taking an intentional path. It's also so it'd be the path, the way, the journey. It can also mean stuck in a particular type of perception. I mean, just depending on today what the cards are going to say as to whether or not we're going to go in that direction with this. But you could put them together here and say that the significators for the reading is invoking higher awareness into the path that you're on, and making that part of your motivation, really, to express that in your life and on this new path or new direction. Let's go ahead, though. I've already shuffled quite a bit. Let me just do a little bit more. And we'll get the cards here and see what kind of details they can provide for this. Because that's essentially how I do these readings. The runes define the reading. That's why I call them the significator of the reading. That's what that means. It's just a fancy way of saying we're defining the reading this way. And then the cards are going to provide the details. So we'll do 3 cards. If we need more, we'll take them. Generally, I don't take any more than 5. That's on the real extreme end, where I need to know something about another card, or maybe when I'm talking about the story that gets told with them, maybe it just feels like there's something missing. So if I take another card, it's usually just a 4th card. But once in a while, it's rare, I'll do 5. But I don't do any more than that. So today we have two soul archetype cards from the Major Arcana, the Empress and Judgment. And then we also have the Three of Wands. And so you've got the energy of Sawillow manifesting in the Three of Wands, certainly. But also in Judgment, the idea of you know, coming up out of your casket when Gabriel blows his horn, the angel Gabriel does. You can see that as above, so below type of interchange, basically. The Empress just sort of sits on her own, and, you know, being all empressy and being the Earth Mother and giving birth to creation. But it's also a 3. It's the 3rd card of the major arcana when we have a 3 of Wands. So you've got a little bit of a pattern there. And then you also have here with Judgment, the 20th card that reduces to 2. So you have 3, 2, 3 for the, and so you're balancing basically what type of manifestation, in a sense, with the Empress and with the Three of Wands. And essentially, you're waiting for your ship to come in, and the choices you've made, the opportunities you've selected to now come to fruition. And same way with the fruition aspect. If we had Birkenau here, it'd be a veritable trifecta of creation energy, basically. But we don't. We have Sawillow and the new path. And so with Vaya, and again, Vaya can align also well with the Three of Wands. So we have an interesting pattern here. So we have let's go ahead and do the numerology before I forget, because you know I will. And they'll be like, oh no, I forgot to do it. So then I put it in the write-up, because I do a write-up on these over on the blog at Stepping Aside. I also publish the same thing over at Substack, Medium, and Patreon. And so if I miss something, I'll put it in there. You know, like if I forget to do the numerology, I'll put it in there. So we had 16, which reduces to 7. 1 and 6 is 7. And then we have 3 plus 2 plus another 3. And that equals 15, or 6, which again is, well, I mean, 6 is an interesting number. It can mean harmony. It can mean extending guidance or compassion or empathy, providing assistance. So, I mean, there's some kind of, maybe the new path you're on is involving some kind of assistance to other people, maybe, or being compassionate, extending compassion. You see that in all the 6s in the tarot. Although I'd have this visceral reaction to the 6 of Pentacles as well. What are you really doing for him? You know, what are you really? I mean, the guy's putting coins in one guy's hand that's sitting on the ground, but the other guy's still got his hand outreach, and he's not lifting them up. So I don't know. Maybe that's the activist within me, but I don't like that card. But anyway. But let's leave this in the order that I drew it, because we do have an interesting pattern here of 3, 2, 3, balancing the interactions you have with the world, essentially, because both the Empress and the Three of Wands is really implying that. So the interactions you have with the greater, you're either at work, maybe with your coworkers, or if you're in a type of social group or something, you know, you're expressing yourself outward there to a greater, as opposed to just your immediate family, we'll say. So there seems to be a feeling of greater here with this. Especially if you're thinking about another path, you know, that's invoking higher awareness into that. That could be quite a profound path today. So let's go ahead and let's start with the Empress card. Here we see the Empress sitting on a throne. It's kind of an interesting throne, more of like a reclining chaise lounge, maybe, you know. But you see all the abundance around her. You see the waterfall, which is kind of cool right over here. This is wheat here growing. You see her shield there is in the shape of a heart with the glyph for Venus. Now Venus is going to talk either about love and beauty and all of that. It could also have to do with finances, the planet Venus. But she's invoking essentially all of this abundance around her. She's pregnant, although it's difficult to see that in this particular drawing of her. She's holding a scepter in her right hand, looks like a very short one, with a globe here at the top of it. But you look here at her crown of stars, but in this case they're drawn as Merkabahs. So it's almost like these are, if you look at the Merkaba as a soul vehicle, it's like these are all the souls she's about to give birth to into physical reality in a way. These are either, I can never be sure if these are strawberries or pomegranates, but I think they're strawberries, because a pomegranate, you would still see the husk around it, the peel around it before opening up and seeing all the little pomegranate seeds there. I love pomegranates. They're like one of my favorite fruit growing up. But anyway, the Empress is about love and fertility. It's about the mother aspect, the womb, abundance. She's receptive. She's successful. So in a sense, you have the Fool that takes the leap of faith into form. Excuse me. Heavy pollen in the area today. Oh gosh, it's been miserable. But then you have the Magician and the High Priestess give birth both to the conscious and subconscious aspects of self. And then you have the Empress that gives birth to creation, you see. Next comes the Emperor, who is her consort, that brings in the father principle or the masculine principle. You could say that she is the feminine principle in that respect. The divine feminine, if you will, whereas he represents the divine masculine, if you will. But they don't come to, but it's not like they have the Lover's card that get to together gives birth to creation. It's that's not the meaning of the Lover's card. But we don't have something like this as the third. We have the idea of the Empress giving birth to creation here, and to abundance and beauty and all of that. So maybe a path that you're taking here today invokes that sort of thing, where you're more concerned with those types of issues and expressing yourself that way to people, giving birth to something beautiful that reflects higher awareness, as opposed to, you know, starting something that the ego is all caught up in. You know, that's really the dichotomy between as above, so below. It's higher awareness versus ego. Once you get that balanced properly, then with the heavier weight on higher awareness, then things tend to unfold much more smoothly for people, I think. Moving on to Judgment. The 20th card, that's a 2 numerology. That's a level of balance where you're balancing higher awareness. Like, well, how'd you do? You know, how'd you do in form? Because as the angel Gabriel blows its horn, everyone's waking up out of their coffins, right? You see the balance reflected here. This is not like a medical flag. It's not a medical type of cross. It denotes the balance between between spirit and form, and then after you reach form, how did you balance the masculine and feminine within, or the receptive versus the projective within? Did you have a healthy balance there, or were you mostly projective or masculine energy? And that's not gender, by the way. It's just energy. Are you more projective, or are you more passive, if you're on the extreme ends of this? Finding that balance can be difficult at times for people, especially if astrologically they're more given to Mars energy than they are to, say, Pisces energy, maybe, or something like that. You're just a little bit more one way than the other, and it makes it kind of difficult to respond to your environment, to people around you in a way that's more balanced. So sometimes you have to struggle against that. And to strike a better balance, be aware of all of it, in other words. And Judgment really is kind of about having that kind of awareness. It's renewal, it's rebirth, it's awakening, it's transformation, it's getting you to see the bigger picture. Again, the 7 numerology of Sawillow is getting you to understand the bigger picture and allowing higher self, which understands that, to then inform how you see things, how you behave, the choices that you make, right? And so basically you're giving birth to something here with the 3, integrated between higher self and the physical reality and ego and all of that. If you look at the triplicity, say you look at it from a psychological standpoint, you got super ego, ego, and id. Ego would be the healthy ego, right? That doesn't need to control everything all the time, but is willing to assert itself and say what it needs and all of that. But it's not overshadowing other people. The superego would be like, you look at it like the Trinity. You can look at it that way. That type of balance. It's almost like you get this stopping point where you're trying to manage the upper stuff and the lower stuff, right? And in the middle is the human being trying to manage all of it, right? Only in psychology they call it the superego, ego, and id. At least they used to back in the 70s when I was in college getting a degree in psychology. So that's what it was called then. I'm assuming it still is. But in any event, that's what Freud would have called it. But anyway, moving on to the Three of Wands, once you've made the awarenesses you need to make about what abundance truly is for you, then you're able. It's almost like these two cards represent the Two of Wands in a way, where the guy's standing there going through a doorway of his own making. Basically, it's two staffs, and it kind of looks like a doorway. This does too, by the way. He's gone through it basically, and he's on the other side of it. You can see this staff is on the other side of these two, but he in the two, he's making that decision. He's holding a globe in his hand. It's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What opportunities am I going to select for myself so that I can then make my way in the world? Well, this is after he's done that. Now you see this yellow colored body of water here. You see the whole yellow sky, lots of fire, lots of he's got the red and the green on here, which is fire. The wands represent elemental fire. So there's all this creation energy, all this motivation, all this initiation that he's done beginning in the two, and now he's waiting for all this lucrative stuff to come in from the choices that he's made, right? You see the little interesting renditions of boats on the water here. You can see them right here. These are little boats. And he's essentially, in a way, waiting for his ship to come in. The results of the choices that he made, okay? And again, did that reflect higher awareness? Did that reflect the ego? Which won out in that? Did he take the easy way out and maybe get involved in something that ultimately, in the long run, is not going to manifest the way he wants it to do? But again, it just seems like today with the reading, there's a new path that could be opening, one that could be quite abundant with the Empress, one that you're going to have to understand the bigger picture of with Judgment. And then in the Three of Wands, where you're basically waiting for for all of that to manifest, the fruits of those decisions to come into being, essentially, to see how did I do, in a way. Is this going to be lucrative, or do I need to rethink it a little bit and, maybe reshape the path that I'm on? Is this the right path, essentially, with Vaya, in terms of the Three of Wands? Is it the right path you're on? So I think that overall, I think that's what the reading is about here today. Are you allowing higher awareness to open your mind to new things? And if you are, then you might be really surprised at all that you can accomplish and all the different ways you can grow and develop as a human, and especially in terms of your career, because it seems like this is probably more of a career type of a reading with the Three of Wands here. So I think that, again, abundance with the Three, with the Empress, coming into balance, reason about what that all is, understanding the bigger picture with Judgment. You then can manifest you can manifest your dreams, you can manifest your desires, you can manifest the new opportunities you're looking for. And that could essentially be a new path with Vaya. So I think a pretty easy reading for Monday. And just think about this. Again, I really think this may be career related. And because mainly because of the Three of Wands is suggesting it. But again, there's higher purpose here. You know, how do you define abundance with the Empress? You know, do you define it only as money? Or do you define it other ways that maybe reflect a little bit a higher consciousness in there? The Empress, given that it's a major arcana card and a soul archetype card, is suggesting that. And seeing things from the overall perspective, from a bigger picture, understanding, you know, the whole thing. It's like when they say when you die, you go through a life reading. Well, okay. If that's true, and it seems to be, because people with near-death experiences come back and say that, if they remember them, they come back and they mention that. So say that's the case. The goal is having an overall understanding of what happened. So that's just another way of saying that, really. And so I think that, again, how do you define abundance? And that's going to be your motivating factor of how you go through this doorway in the 2 and manifest your dreams and these new opportunities in the 3. So how do you see that? Again, is it from a higher perspective, or is it from the ego? And again, how will you see the overall picture, depending on which way you see things that way? How you see abundance, how you see growth, how you see new development. How do you see all of that? From what perspective? Is it higher? Is it ego? Which is it? And then from there, what manifests as a result of the choice you made there? So anyhow, that's it. I think I've said it enough times. I just want to make sure that people see the flow here of how all this unfolds, I think. And again, I just think that how you see things from the get-go matters. You know, are you seeing it as just from an ego perspective, or do you understand that there's more involved in all of that? And how you're going to get there, and how are you going to be the businessman that takes advantage of his customers or her customers, you know, or are you going to be somebody that looks upon them as, if they weren't here, I wouldn't be here, so I'm going to take care of them, and I'm going to try to have the best business policies I can. And you know, obviously you can't do everything a customer wants, because you might not have a business at the end of it if that's all you ever did. You still have to be able to run your business in a reasonable way, you know, if you're a business owner, that keeps you there. You know, you can't cut corners, or you can't skirt the law, that sort of thing, right? But the same is true just generally. You know, how are you? How do you do this? How do you manifest this in your life? So anyhow, that's it for a Monday. We're in June. We're in a new month. Oh boy. We'll see how this month goes. Last month was certainly interesting. This month they say is going to be super hot where we live, and it was just like, oh Lord. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and click subscribe if you haven't. I'd love you to do that, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.